Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Real Talk Lounge. I'm Eva from Evaverse, and
I'm Roxy from Roxy So Free.
so if you want to support us, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like, and that's just to help us out. And we love for you to become part of our family. We welcome one and all and everybody. So on that note, let's get started. So
So
today,
today,
what is today?
today is Monday, but it's also Blue Monday because there's a day for everything. There's a cheese day, there's a chocolate day, there's a dog
Cake
day,
day.
and there is a Blue Monday.
Yeah.
Now
So
today,
today it is. So I heard that it's falling on the third Monday of this year. Is that a every year thing, or is that
the
just this
third
year?
Monday, it is the third Monday of every year, and it's been since about 2004, somewhere around there. And it's actually created. Okay, so what it is supposedly, this is the most depressing day of the year. It's a combination of things. It's like post Christmas letdown. It's by now you failed at your New Year's resolution. Um,
So are we
lack
supposed to
of
be more depressed today, or something?
apparently we're super depressed. There's seasonal depression usually is at its peak around this time. Um, there's also by now you're realizing how little bit of money you have, if any at all. But actually what this is, it's contrived by a marketing agency as a way to convince you that you need to book yourself a vacation, but people don't know that history. It's just now marketing geniuses and giants have taken this on, and now it's just part of our consciousness, and we all think that we're supposed to be at our peak sadness today.
I don't know because I kind of woke up this morning and I wasn't feeling too depressed today. And normally I,
Oh,
I get I have my moments, but today was actually like Blue Monday. Not for this girl.
oh no.
I don't
I
know.
I drank that Kool-Aid. I don't know if it was just, like a mind over matter thing where I knew this is Blue
Mhm.
Monday, or if it's something that, just all the circumstances that were happening. My son decided, and he's not normally like this. Maybe he's 18 months. Um, he's feeling blues because he woke up screaming and crying and throwing himself on the
Oh,
floor. That's not normally him, but maybe he was feeling those Monday blues.
see,
Maybe
apparently
his
he
New
got the
Year's
memo and I
resolution
didn't.
didn't come true. So
Well, I think I actually was talking to my sister yesterday, and she was telling me that she really would love to move to a warm climate because she's just like she gets that complete seasonal depression where it's like every time when it's like this dreary, cold, wintry weather, she just gets into a funk.
well, how could you not? First of all, the only good snow is if you have nowhere to go and if it's before Christmas, because everybody's dreaming for white
Yeah.
Christmas or whatnot. But after that, nobody wants to deal with snow and cold. I mean, unless you're an
And it,
avid outdoor person, then it's all good.
well,
There's ski resorts
unless
where
it's
plenty
that
of snow right now.
well, actually, I have a point to that as well. But I was thinking, that beautiful like untouched virgin snow when there's like a layer of it on the trees, and that picturesque. That
Mhm.
I like.
Yeah,
But speaking
it's
of the
gorgeous.
outdoor stuff, they do say that for depression in general, like especially in the winter, one of the key things people should do is actually get outdoors
They're
because
actually
the therapeutic nature.
I happen to have a little bit of a list that we can run through. But
Oh
there's
yeah.
something, yeah, but there's something that I kind of want to make mention to. First of all, when we're talking about sadness and depression right now, we're not talking about clinical depression and the type of depression where you're the chemically alteration in your brain and all that stuff. We're just talking
Mhm.
about blues and just general feelings of like down. So let's
Yeah,
put
yeah.
that disclaimer out there. But 50 Cent, he's making the news recently because he said that depression is a luxury. It's only for rich people. Depression is for rich people. Now let's break that down a bit. What say we?
What are your thoughts on that one?
Okay, so
uh,
on the surface, okay, if you don't go any deeper into it, if you just take the headline as a sensationalism that it is, you do get offended. Like, what do you
yeah,
mean? So people who are rich are the only ones that are entitled to be depressed,
yeah,
or they're the only ones that get depressed? So here's where it goes. I get where he's coming from. Like if you,
yeah,
or I'm gonna analyze and pack it down and whatever. Okay, so if you have means, you can actually go to somebody to help them so that you can get help to analyze and talk it through. And possibly from that way, you can consider it a luxury because you have access,
resources.
Yes,
Yeah,
you have resources. You can afford the thing because therapy is expensive. You can afford the perhaps prescriptions that go along with it, again, because prescriptions can be expensive if you don't have benefits. you know if you don't
mhm,
have access to that, then hell yeah, it's a luxury. But breaking it down how he actually said it is that when you got to worry about where your next meal is coming from and how your rent's going to get paid and all that, you don't have time to sit in a corner and wallow in it. You just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep going and going and going. And you just are so consumed with life, you don't have time to even realize. I mean, you might be but you don't have time to sit there and analyze how it is or what you can actually do about it.
yeah. I mean, although I do agree with those sentiments, and I do think that taken out of context, without the little backstory, people will jump the
Mhm.
gun and kind of be like, oh well, how convenient that he can say that. Um, on the flip side, though, I will say that people could still criticize saying that it's easy for him to say because he is in a position of privilege, right? Um,
He is
and
now,
we can.
but we
He is now.
he
I
came
was.
to this conclusion though through observation, because remember,
Yeah.
he came from a life of limited means. I mean, he's from Queens, right? New York.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's lived both sides of the coin, so maybe he has insight to both sides.
Yeah, I think I do get where he's coming from, and I don't disagree in general with it. I just it's a very simplified approach to saying it, because I do think that with the snowflake rampantness we have going on, where people are just like, everybody's very sensitive, and we have to cater to everybody's feelings and all that good stuff. So in that regard, I do see where he's coming from. I just don't think it's necessarily prudent to simplify in that way, because if somebody, like, basically you can't put a like a gauge or anything on other people's experiences. So if
Right.
someone's feeling down or feeling depressed, it's not necessarily a matter of luxury. It could just be like, yes, you pull up your bootstraps and you keep going, and what he's saying, you don't have a choice but to go. Yes, that's true, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that it's not going to take a toll on you. It doesn't mean that it's
Mhm.
not going to end bad. It doesn't mean that you're not actually brushing it under the rug and not actually dealing with it. It's a different coping mechanism. If you just say, I'm going to put in the back of my mind, I'm just going to forge ahead, keep worrying about what I'm doing, and I don't have time to sit and wallow. Well, that can catch up to you too, right? And we know
It
that suppressed stress and everything can bubble up at one point, and it can come out in a worse way, more than
Yeah,
it
and
can come like
when
a
you don't
tsunami.
have access to resources, it manifests in all kinds of way. It manifests in abuse. It manifests in uh
Neglect,
over neglect, fatigue, alcoholism, drug use. I mean, there's so
all
many
kinds of
other
dependence.
outlets. Yeah, there's so many other outlets that people take. I mean, some people take drugs because I mean, initially it's just like a fun thing to do, or they have alcohol because, again, it's just a fun thing to do. But they could be
And they're
using it
functioning,
as
so
a
you wouldn't
band-aid.
know it. They're functioning like whatever substance dependent they're on, like
Mhm.
with the double, like a functioning alcoholic or functioning this, functioning that. You wouldn't know that that's what they're dealing, but they're self-medicating in ways that you might not know, you know
Mhm.
and they might be the same ones who think, well, I can't allow myself the luxury of taking a mental health day. So
Yeah.
that's how it comes out, right?
Yeah, and as you said, like there even something as simple as just like taking if you work, I mean, this again, this is where it comes from. If you go to work, right? Depending on what kind of job you have, being able to take a paid day off, or even some days you don't get paid off, right? So if you don't go to work,
Yeah.
you're not getting paid. You can't afford to not like take a day for yourself. I mean, like you think about the toll that is possibly taking on you if you don't take that day, but if you do take that day,
Yeah.
there's another issue you're dealing with. You might not be able to pay your light bill that month, you know? So
Exactly. Yeah.
it's like a double-edged sword.
And I mean, when you look at it on the other extreme side of it, if you have like the super wealthy who have their demons they're struggling with, and we can only assume that a lot of them had struggled with some form of depression because they have developed dependency issues as well. Like, I mean, a famous one would be Marilyn Monroe. Like, she's fighting her
Mm-hmm.
demons as well, and look how that ended. So I mean, and she's not the only famous celebrity who's known.
No, there's like
To
the musicians before 27 thing, like Kurt Cobain and Amy Winehouse, and all those people that were struggling there and dealing with their internal demons. Some of it is fame
And they had
based.
the moves, they had the money, they had everything, and yet, these demons still won out in the end, right?
Yeah,
So, I
exactly.
mean, in that regard, that's why I would say that, even though what he's saying, I get where he's coming from, I get what he's trying to say. And I think he's more talking about, like, stop feeling sorry for yourself. And there's a saying too, like, how you're never going to feel like it. There's always going to be something that you don't want to do in life, and you're always going to feel away or down about it. But, you got to do it. So I get where he's
Mhm.
coming from. It's more of from a motivational standpoint, but you can't just use such a broad stroke, you know what I mean, to say, well, it's
Yeah,
a luxury.
it's a huge generalization, and it really does discount
Exactly.
it discounts people's feelings, which is not cool, not cool, 50. But you know what, he is very well known for saying very controversial things. um
Yeah.
and I guess maybe that's why we're still talking about him. He hasn't when's the last time he put out a new album? And we're still talking about him basically based off all the tweets that he does that are just controversial.
Yeah.
But
I
there are a couple things that you can do. Again, this is not for clinical depression, but this is just for like the feeling downs, the blues, And I think we're in general just feeling it more these days with all the economical struggles that everybody is going to. It seems like that boulder, that stone, that chain that you have to carry, that burden is reaching people even that it wouldn't have reached before, right? So it's not
yeah.
just like, people who are at just above the poverty line or below the poverty line that are feeling this pinch. It's actually creeping very well into middle class. I mean, the upper echelon of people, they're still sitting
Yeah.
pretty, but I mean, even their investments are tanking a little bit. So they might even feel a little bit depressed because of that. Um, but
Everybody's going through something, right?
for sure. I mean, it's hard, when you're seeing all the things that are going on in the world, the climate thing, the financial thing, the stock markets, the cryptos, the crap that's happening with kids in school and mass shootings and war. It's hard to remember that there is good in the world, right? And it must have an effect on your psyche, and then there's the whole COVID thing and being locked away for 2 years, right? And then hearing that COVID is still part of our daily lives. You're still hearing about it. People are just weary.
I
They're
mean, that
tired.
took a toll on so many. That took a
Mhm.
toll on. I can't even say so many people. I think just the world in its entirety. It was such
Mhm.
a global sort of issue that just it crossed every socioeconomical, like, um path that you could think of, that whether you're rich,
Mhm.
poor, doesn't matter what country you're from, doesn't matter the color of your skin, doesn't matter anything. It didn't care, and it affected everybody. It affected the governments, it affected life as we know it,
Mhm.
so
And
I think a lot of people.
almost everybody lost somebody to COVID. So I think it's touched everybody, in some way or form. But no, well,
Absolutely.
there's a few ways that we could kind of maybe try to dig ourselves out of the hole, just a touch, just try to, you
Yeah.
know, see if we could find a little bit of happy place. And I mean,
Because we have to
what are
chug along. We have to, and you know what? There's no point in dwelling on
mhm.
the sadness of it all.
I know. So obviously, if you have access to therapy, really and truly use it, because being able to talk it out with an impartial person who is probably not going to judge you. um, there's helplines. You can reach out to helplines if you can't afford therapy. If you can, though, really at least try it. You'd be surprised. If you can't afford
Yeah.
therapy and you can talk to a friend or somebody else that you trust, um, you might get a little bit of bias there. You might get a little bit of judgy. But I mean, at least sometimes just getting it off of your chest, not holding it in, that does wonders. It's cathartic. You can
Yeah.
you
And for
feel.
some people who don't, yeah, I agree. I think that's really good advice. I was just going to add that if people who don't feel comfortable talking to other people, the other thing they do say helps, and it's also therapeutic in its own sense, is journaling, because that way you can kind of work through your own problems. You kind of put them down on paper, and sometimes the answers just pop up at you, you know? So,
And if you're not good at writing, you could even video journal, like you don't have to sit there with pen and paper. You can just, do what we're doing. Put up, I mean, you don't necessarily have to put it on a platform. You could put it within your own phone, but I mean, even that can help. And you
yeah.
know what is actually funny? Because I've done something like that. I would write down something that I'm feeling, and then when you look back at it sometimes in a year, you can't believe, oh my gosh, did I really feel like that? Did I say those things? And you could look at how far
Yeah.
you've come, or you could look at how much
Yeah.
more your life's now.
Yeah, well, I think at the very least things get put into perspective real quick, right? If not
There
anything
you
else.
go. Like,
So
ooh, I
yeah, I
shouldn't have been
mean, for the
complaining back
better or worse,
then.
right? Yeah.
Um,
What was it? I
humor.
had a sister once told me, when she's like, "Oh, had I known when I was in my early 20s that things, my body was gonna go downhill, I would have worn a bikini 24/7 when I
There
was
we
younger."
go. And
So
that is actually one of our other things is humor. When you are feeling, it sounds so silly, but find something humorous. So either, if you're into like reading funny memes or looking at comedy shows on YouTube or Netflix or any other platform, or if you like sitcoms, something just to make you smile and to make you laugh. It releases those endorphins, and it for 2 seconds will definitely help you feel a little bit better. And sometimes, especially with comedians, when they start talking about their crappy lives or things, might make you feel better about yours.
for me, you know what it is? What works every time?
What's that?
Cute animal videos. Cute animal
Oh, there you
videos.
go.
I remember when I used to have this one job way back when, and every time my coworkers or our higher ups would really like get under my skin, I would play this video on YouTube. I think it's Mocha eating his first broccoli. I'll link it for you guys down. And at the time, I don't know how many views it has now, but he still was joke. It has like 4 million views, and like 1 million is just me.
Mocha the
It's just the
Depression
cutest little
Buster.
baby. Oh, he's just a little tiny little like handy, like eating his little broccoli, and you just can't be mad. You can't be mad. Like,
Hmm.
how are you gonna be mad when you're watching that? Or how are you gonna be
Yeah, no.
depressed?
Yeah, whatever
So
the day is doing, you just watch your little hammy video and you're good to go.
now I'm not
And
a doctor or anything, but I do prescribe cute animal
mm,
videos to everybody who's feeling
you
down.
know what? They do work. They're cat videos, dog videos, even little cute little piggy videos. They're all
Yeah.
they're all good. Anything that will brighten and lighten you, I think is always a good thing. And then
I think
one.
for me personally, it's also like I know we mentioned it earlier, but like nature. I find just going for a walk and getting just going to a park just to see the greenery and just the trees and it it changes the mood completely.
And especially during winter, that crisp air when you're breathing it. I mean, not going out during a snowstorm or anything, but like just like a nice crisp day, you're breathing in that
Yeah.
air. It's going into your lungs. It's almost like you're getting healthier just by breathing it in. But then it
It's
also
funny. I
does
was
something
reading
for you.
something online about that. They were saying that there's no cold days outside. It's just you're wearing improper clothes.
I
It's
call
not just
100% BS on that.
well, I don't know. Some people did like take a dip in like ice cold water every day. Doesn't Joe Rogan do that?
Ice cold water every day. Well, you know what? They say that ice cold water helps
Apparently,
keep you
some people
up.
do. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
no,
dip in like ice water, like for just even a few seconds, for like 10 seconds or
yeah.
whatever.
It
I'm not doing
apparently
that.
is like therapeutic. It's therapeutic. Can't remember the word, but it's therapeutic.
I mean, if you told me you're gonna give me like a large amount of money to do it once, okay. But if you told me like I have to keep earning my money and I have to keep doing it, I'd be like, I'm out, thank you. Keep your money.
Really? You don't think after a while you would just get used to it and be like, all right, this is how I do my morning?
I doubt it. Never say never, but I doubt it.
I think
I
after a
just
while you would be used to it. I can't see if you've done it like every day for even 30 days, and then we're talking about doing it every day for years. You have to get used to it. It'll be to the point where it's like, ooh, today wasn't as cold as yesterday. I think, and especially like, okay, so here's the deal. How much money are we talking? Are you talking like $1,000 to do it? Like how much?
no. We're talking about large sums of money. Things and money that you can earn from your regular salary or whatever other endeavor you're doing.
So like $10,000 a day?
Girl, how much are you earning? No, we're talking more. Come on. We're talking bigger
Well, I
amounts.
don't I,
We're talking about 6 figure, 7 figure like numbers here. You
and
know what I mean?
you still wouldn't do it a day?
Thing is this. I think of certain things in life, certain experiences are like torture. And torture, you can't pay me to be tortured. Rather die than get tortured. I'm not
Okay, so
saying that I'm not saying that I'd choose that over dipping in cold water. I'm just saying like there's certain things in life like if you ask me, we're gonna take you out or you're gonna be tortured. Like they say the worst way to actually die is to be tortured. Like to be tortured to death. So I mean, I'm sorry. Like I don't like to be
and in
tortured.
that
And
case you
ice
would be
water
self-tortured.
to me is almost a form of if I had to do it repeatedly. And yeah, maybe I would get used to it if I did a 10-second, little polar bear dip every day. But I don't know if it's be worth money for me. It'd
Mm-hmm.
be worth my life. I mean, if you told me you're gonna, take one or the other, then yeah. But
Say
money
we'll give
wise, I
you
don't
six
know.
hundred thousand dollars, or we'll just kill you. Which one do you want?
Yeah, I mean that's different, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
life and death versus money and torture. That's a different thing for me. Would you
Well,
do it? I know you. You don't like the cold either.
I don't like the cold either, but I have to believe that your body would come to expect it. That is, if you don't die from the initial shock, because the
Yeah.
initial shock of that cold water can actually kill you.
Yeah, well, I know some people do it. They find it invigorating and whatever. Anyway, what's the next thing? Keep go deep down that rabbit hole there.
Well, I was going to ask you something else. We'll go to the next thing, but I actually have a question for you. So I saw a picture of a padded room, right? Just white padded room, probably say 10 by 12 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
No books, no TV, no streaming
Oh, are
services,
you talking
no
about the
phone.
100% sensory deprivation torture?
Right. But they said it's for a year, and at the end of it, you get $30 billion.
No,
No?
no. They say no. It's a thing. They say that I think it's been scientifically studied, and they say there's a specific type of torture that they implemented where they put you in basically a room devoid of color, texture, sound, any
Mhm.
sensory anything. And basically they say that is one of the worst forms of psychological torture you could ever think of, because you can't even use something to stimulate your mind to like
Yeah,
for to say, oh, there's a crack in the wall, and that you makes you think of, I don't know, takes you back to your childhood, and the drywall and then plaster in your
that only
basement.
works
Like
for so long.
well, I know, but the point is that you start going so deep in yourself, but you can't. There's no external thing, and they've demonstrated how important it is to have something, and it's bad
Mhm.
enough to deprive one sensory, um, stimuli, but it's absolutely like torturous to be deprived of everything. That means you didn't even have in that room. You didn't even have any kind of texture to like to kind of like help your brain a little bit. There's no color, there's no seams, there's nothing in that room. There's no amount of money I could do it for, because I know in theory you'll be like, oh yeah, I could do that, I could do it here, but no problem. 30 billion, oh hell yeah, I could do it.
I've got 3 kids. I
No,
could do it here, no problem. No,
no,
you know what?
I'd be struggling after a week or two. I'd be really struggling, because
Yeah,
that's worse than solitary confinement. That's some really deep level, like CIA level, like torturing,
yeah.
like that. I
And
think I'd be like, please waterboard me, thank you.
I actually did a
I
little
take
bit
that
of
ice
that.
dip now. I take that ice dip now for the rest of my life.
Well, there we go. We've settled on what Eva will do for money. She'll do an ice dip. She will
Yeah,
not
yeah,
do
yeah, yeah.
solitary confinement. No, I
Well,
actually did a little bit of
it's a
analysis
sliding
on it
scale.
myself.
It's all a matter of perspective.
I did some
Sorry.
analysis. I said to myself, okay, well, would I be able to do this? And like, how would I pass my time? And what would I think about? What would I do? Would I talk to myself? But no, you would for sure. If it was maybe 2 weeks, maybe, if it was a month, maybe, but a whole year, it doesn't matter how much money, $30 billion was the offer. I wouldn't be able to do it. And I don't think anybody would go in there with the best of intentions thinking they could. They would tap out 100%. Or if they did make it,
Exactly.
they would be forever altered at the deepest
Yeah, I
level. You
can be
can't have
insane.
that. I mean, like, look at like the being everybody being locked down for COVID. Look at how damaging that was, right? So there's
Yeah.
no way anybody would be able to do anything like that for a whole year.
I think
But
it would have to take like some kind of psychopath to actually be able to accomplish it. Like they would already have to be sort of like outside of the realm of normal psychologically to be able to
mm-hmm,
go in there and not have that affect them, or to be
mm-hmm.
able to complete such a thing. Because I mean, you'd have to, maybe if you had like now this is, it might be a bad analogy, and excuse me if I'm simplifying anything. However, I think if you were, I don't know why I could compare to, I couldn't imagine what it's like, but let's say if you're something that would be similar to being schizophrenic, where you heard voices in your head, or you had some kind of
So you
you
would
were
have
hallucinating
friends,
something.
is what you're saying.
Well, because that's it. You would kind of project your own company. You would project your own hallucination. Maybe then that would be your stimuli. You know what I mean? Maybe, I don't
Yeah,
know.
but I think even if you were in that situation, after a while, that would happen anyway, I think. Like I
That's
think even if
true.
you went in there mentally
What
sound
was
and they
that
did
movie
like,
with Tom Hanks? Oh, Castaway,
oh
where
yes,
he started making
Castaway.
friends with the,
Yeah, the ball, Wilson.
yeah, Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah, so it
I
would
wonder.
probably be,
I wonder if the sale of Wilson balls went up after that movie.
I think they did. But you know what? Aside from all that, though, at least Tom Hanks had other stimulation, right? He had other stimulation and he still went crazy because he still had
Yeah,
sunlight.
nature.
Yeah,
Like I
he still
said,
had
right? That's a big one.
he still had like the ability to go swimming and catching his food and climbing trees and building sandcastles. He had all of that, but it was the human contact that he was
Yeah.
missing out on, and it mashed him up, just wrecked him. But speaking of sunlight and nature, when you go on your nature walks, you would be getting a little bit of natural light, and apparently natural light is a good therapy for blues,
Hmm.
and it's important apparently to
Well,
get
I mean,
it.
they say like lighting in general, right, can affect
Hmm.
your endorphins and your system in general, right? Oh,
Yeah.
speaking of, they did I was reading an article, and they did a survey of people, what they actually recommend for people to get out of the blues. And a lot of people actually recommend, which you had recommended this to me before too, is actually taking vitamin D supplements.
Yeah, and that is good. I mean, if you drink milk, there's vitamin D a lot of time fortified into milk. There is the vitamin D drops or pills that you can take. And some
Yeah.
people do notice significant improvements in mood when on these supplements. And it
You
helps if you.
know, like, I don't know. I'll tell you mine first, and I'm curious about what yours would be. But I think about from like I said, looking at animals, cute animals, and also going for walks. Those are two of my things. But from a mental perspective, I think the thing that I find helps me shift my mood is it's something very simple and it's underrated. But I think it truly works, and it truly works if you're feeling down. It truly works if you're yeah, just feeling a myriad of things, that the negative emotions, and to kind of again put things into perspective, the thing that I find really works for me
Mhm.
is gratitude. Instead of, when I start focusing on something, what I do, I just start actually changing my mood, and I'm like, you know what, forget about all this that's going on, forget about what I'm feeling right now. What am I grateful for in my life? What are the things that I'm like, that are actually good? Or what are the things that I'm like, you know what, it could be worse, but I'm up here,
Mhm.
this is what's going on, these are good things, and you take stock of those
Mhm.
things. And for me, it's that the gratitude, that's the thing that really, over the years, once I kind of, that clicked in my brain. One day it did. I don't know how, because I've read it before many times. Oh, gratitude and this, that, whatever. But until
Mhm.
really it clicked when I was like, what is really the meaning of happiness? And the thing is, you're never going to be happy. You're never truly going to be thing until you really make your happiness, and you choose to be happy, or you choose to find those good things, right? And
Right.
when I do that, then I'm like, I feel a shift in myself. What about you?
Well, there's two things. This one of these is from something that I read, but then the other thing, I mean, this is gonna sound kind of whatever, but so one of the things is music, right? Music is something that's in us so primally, right? Even down to just like
Mhm.
the beat of a drum or
That's a good
whatnot.
one.
It goes
Mhm.
right into your soul. A song and the lyrics have the ability to just alter your mood so much. Um,
Right.
that's why even with TV shows and movies, like the background, the score for those things are so important. They play such a huge
Right.
part. So listening to like an upbeat song that you like, um, can sometimes make you feel more hype and more upbeat, right? Especially if you happen to be driving or you happen to be commuting, you pop in your headphones and you listen to some music, and sometimes even quote unquote like your depressing music, right? If you have some songs that are your go-to when you're feeling sad, feeling those lyrics can sometimes can sometimes be like, oh, you know what, I felt that in my heart, and you feel better.
Mhm.
The
It's like
other
soul
thing,
food.
yeah, it is
Mhm.
actually with that. It has some chocolate. It has endorphins and dopamine and all that
Yeah.
other kind of stuff. Eat some chocolate. Chocolate is
Yeah.
everybody's best friend. Um, but no, the other thing that I have found to be really, really helpful is faith, right?
Okay.
So I've had struggles here and there, and sometimes you feel like you're gonna break. Um, faith is not instantaneous. Like when you pray, and to whoever it is that you pray to, it's not like it's a genie and it grants your wishes. But eventually, just that belief and that faith and that talking to God,
Mhm.
for me personally, I have found that it does bring peace in my soul. So for me,
Yeah.
that's one of the greatest things. And I mean, if you don't like to pray, or it's just not your vibe, another thing you could do is just um do like mindfulness and meditation. Sometimes that works, just going the quiet in your mind, and just like
Yeah.
the breathing in and out. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
so
It doesn't have to be something secular. It doesn't have to be
Mhm.
something of a particular faith. It could just be like, I think humans in general are just spiritual by nature. So I think if you kind
Mhm.
of just like you said, even just meditate, just to get back into that
Mm.
sense of yourself, and kind of get that outside, noise
Quiet,
out of it for a second.
yeah, quiet the noise. Do the deep breathing in, the deep breathing out. Concentrate on the breaths and concentrate on the sound of your heart, and like all those little things, like just to turn within yourself and block out the crap. Because you know what, unfortunately, the way that life is, there's a lot of crap we're all dealing with right now. And when we were younger, we couldn't wait to grow up and be adults. It's, don't you wish you could go back and tell yourself as a child, slow down. This is the best it's
Yeah.
going to be. It doesn't always get better. It's a lot harder. Sometimes there are really good things that are going on, but it's a lot harder.
Yes, and I think what it is too is now it's different, in the sense that there's just this super oversaturation of stimulus, that everyone's exposed to constantly, to a point where it's almost becoming white noise, but it's everywhere. You're
Mm-hmm.
bombarded. It's not like, decades ago, people, and some people still actively do this, but it's more, just, I would say generally it's rare, um, or more so than it was before, to sit down with just a book and
Mm-hmm.
just focus on that, or just, or
Mm-hmm.
like somebody, I was reading somewhere online, where it was like, oh, I think somebody posted a picture and they said, oh, this guy is like raw dogging by going on a plane with nothing, no headphones, no book, nothing. He did, the guy who posted
Raw
this, or I
dogging.
don't
Are
know
you
if it was,
sure you want to use that term? Do you
that's
know what it means?
what they use. Well, raw dogging, that's what it means. You're going like with
Raw.
no apparatus, nothing with you, right? They
Mm-hmm.
keep it. It's sort of like certain channels. They also say like uh like a lot of people say they watch reaction channels because they don't want to raw dog the original creator, because it's just so bad and they don't want to support them. But anyway,
Yeah.
so anyway, they're talking about how this person actually went on a plane on a whole 8 hour long flight with with essentially no crutch to entertain
Mm-hmm.
him. And it's like,
Yeah.
and then the other people kind of snap back at him saying, well, what do you mean? I feel bad for you that you can't be alone with your own thoughts for 8 minutes, or sorry, 8 hours. Like you absolutely need something. You need your headphones, your iPad, or a movie, or something to occupy you. And I think it goes back to that. Like it's a different time now. I think people are used to the stimulation. That's why we have the fidget spinners. We have all these things that it's not that it didn't exist, like, you know people who needed stimulus before, like those kind of people didn't exist before, but now it's almost like it's so ingrained. It's like even a
Yeah.
young child now, like it's hard to have that. I didn't even think, they say that attention deficit disorder. I think now it's almost like, I don't
It's
even think it's a
exactly
disorder now.
because of the instant
It's like a state
gratification
of being for a lot of
you get.
people, right? Yeah,
Like
and these social media companies are programming it to be that, right? It's purposely manipulating it to be so addictive that you get the next,
right.
the
And the
next,
thing is, everything
dopamine
is
hit.
so instantaneous. Like kids today, they have access to entertainment 24 hours a day. When we were younger, I'm dating us here, but we had a certain amount of time during the day that cartoons were available to us, and in between those there was commercials, so we were a society that we had to learn to be patient, and we also had to learn to entertain ourselves, because if there was nothing to watch, we had to go figure out what to play with. Sticks were our best friend.
Yeah.
We collected snails and watched butterflies and went down to the creek.
Rollerblading, bike riding, like,
Yeah. And nowadays you tell kids, okay, go outside. They're like, but we're so bored. We don't want to go out. It's so
when you
boring.
see a group of kids, like you go play and then you see them and they're all on their devices. They're not even spending time with each other. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow. And it's not even just like young kids. It's also
Mhm.
into universities now. When you go and you see a social outing between, like 20 something year olds, and this is what you're getting. Like, I'm like, wow.
Mhm.
Like,
And actually, that's
and
another
then they're all posting it as if they had a great time together. It's like, but you guys didn't even like converse.
and quite honestly, that is another thing that is contributing to people's depression or feelings of sadness and feelings of inadequacy, because they're comparing themselves to the lives of other people on social media. So one
Yeah.
of the things that people suggest that you do is take a little break from that, because you're comparing, oh, this person just went on this fabulous vacation, they're always going places, or they just had this wonderful
Mhm.
lunch with their significant other, or they're out in
Yeah.
these clubs and they're doing this and that, and they're putting it all out there for you to see, and you're just living your rat race every day and going, well, why can't I do that? I can't do that. If I didn't have
Well,
this
I mean,
husband I have, if I don't have these kids, if I don't have this job,
well,
I
it's
could do stuff too.
they're curating that life. They're portraying only the good elements of it, right? They're not showing the full thing. Plus, you're not seeing how photoshopped everything is and how artificial it is. It's not really real life, and
Mhm.
they do say that, like, teenage depression and everything has gone through the roof too because of this, because, like,
Mhm.
they're not immune to it. I mean, we had, like the 17 magazines and the, of the, like, back when we were growing up, but now it's like it's
Mhm.
everywhere. They've
Yeah.
they've just released something too regarding TikTok and how detrimental it is to the health of especially young females,
Mhm.
which is very concerning, very, very concerning.
Yeah, because, and I mean, in addition to that too, kids reach out to each other through social media to do online bullying, right?
Yeah.
And they don't log off. They don't come off and say, okay, you know what, I'm gonna ignore you. I don't understand why today kids don't well, I do, because everybody's a snowflake. Sticks and stones.
Yeah.
Don't attention to the negative. Like, when you start to put that stuff in there and take it in, like, it impacts you. And to a point, we are responsible for the things that we let impact us. I mean, some of it, yes, it does make its way through. If you hear the same thing again and again, it does start to take a toll. But giving it
Yeah.
playtime, if you could cut it out a little bit, try it. See if it doesn't change your perspective.
Well, I think it's also the way of raising children just shifted a lot, even the way schools handle children, and
Mm-hmm.
that mentality has changed. Of, where they say before it was it takes a village. Now it's not that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, don't you tell my kid what to do, or who do you think you are? Like,
Don't you
before,
tell
it
Johnny
would
he
have.
can't.
Yeah, if my child is misbehaving, you go right ahead and you put them in their place, right? And you better listen to Mr. So and so or Mrs. Whoever, right?
Yeah, they don't even do
Like, there was
corners
no.
anymore. They don't do lines anymore. They're not allowed to get F's anymore.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to repeat grades anymore. I mean, all those things. If you have no consequences, what are you gonna then how do you learn? And the worst part about it, sorry, this is like completely off topic, but I mean, it leads to snowflakes and people who are depressed and who are on, like, disability payments and all that kind of stuff and don't want to work, and it's a whole thing. um it's it's showing them that there's no consequences, right? So as their
Yeah.
children, and we're coddling them and protecting them and keeping them in this little bubble, and then they go out into the real world, they go to college, university, maybe, or they have their first
And they all
job,
think they're the
and
greatest.
they're not treated like snowflakes. They get jumped for promotions, they get fired for not showing
Yeah.
up, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
it's like a shock. They can't handle it.
Yeah. They're not
And
prepared for the real world.
no,
But then at the
and
same time, I mean, I heard that even universities have, like, some of them anyway, have lowered their standards too to accommodate these kind of, snowflakes. And it's like, well, what are you doing now? You're diluting the entire system
Mhm.
to create mediocre uh,
People.
uh people. Like, I want to say, like, not the people in general, but the capability, um like, they're not the top notch, they're not the creme de la creme, and there's nothing there. There's no not enough healthy competition now, where it's like the kids are not taught to fail. Like, fall on your butt, let's see you watch back, get back up again, and you're not the best, show us you're the best, prove you're the best, compete against the other kids, and earn what you earn, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
real life, right?
What's ending up happening is that these kids, first of all, we should be pushing them to be the best they can be, because they're the ones that are going to be taking care of us. They're the ones that are going to be taking care of the world, as we get older. But they're also leading to, they're gonna be struggling more and more with depression. They're gonna be struggling more and more with suicidal thoughts, and possibly even taking it to that next level, because they're not prepared for what life really is like. They're not prepared for the fact that life has ups and downs. You know, they're expecting that life is going to treat them the way their parents treated them and the way the school system treated them, and they're going to end up more people needing therapy, needing drugs, needing turning to like other types of like alcoholism and all that other kind of stuff to deal with life, because somebody told them no as an adult.
Or they're constantly being coddled. Like, I remember when I was working at the university, and I was seeing some of the kids, and what their parents were doing. You'd see them in the, for example, in the parking office, and then there was no accountability. Like, they got a parking ticket, mommy and daddy would just come and pay the ticket for them. Or, you know, if they got a speeding ticket, oh well, the mommy and daddy would just take care of it. What are you teaching your child at that point when you're not?
They're going to do it.
Yeah, like, okay, you got a ticket, now deal with it. Now find the money to pay for it. Go to the actual office to pay for it. I'm not going to do it for you. If you don't know, you better figure it out, and you better do it real quick. You know, and like, you know, those are just like minor little examples, but that's just like the tip of the iceberg. And it, there's a lot of it under the sea, you know, as to really like when they can't boil an egg. Like, I'm sorry.
Oh,
an egg,
you know what?
you know?
I think we should probably wrap this a little bit, and maybe use this as another topic, because I feel like there's a lot that we can talk about when it comes to snowflakes and the next generation, and you know what we're expecting them to do for us.
All right. Well, then let's wrap it.
Do we have a positive note? Do we have a positive note? Do we have a joke?
Mocha. Oh, actually, I saw another cute video of this big dog snuggling up with a baby, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, the owner's like watching the dog steal the soother from the baby. I started putting it in his mouth. This thing, I'm like, oh,
so you're thinking, oh, puppy just loves baby. No, puppy loves baby soother.
No, puppy wants the soother. It's mine. It's all mine. But yeah, I think the positive note is that, you know, we're still really fresh into the new year, so it's a great opportunity for, you know, that sense of you know, refresh and reset. And I think we can forget about this whole, like, you know, Blue Monday. Why don't you just make it a great year? And you know what, 2023 is apt for the new year, because I mean, I think the last few years have been pretty difficult for a lot of people, so maybe now is the time to kind of
get better. It's gotta get
exactly
better. I think it's go up, right?
Yeah, that's what I say. I told myself, this is my year. Like, this is my year. I don't know. I don't know about you.
And see how well we did with our year, right?
Yeah, we can certainly do that. I'll meet you here. And what is it? Today is January 16th, 2023. Yeah, we'll see you here on next Blue Monday. We'll see how blue it is. How about that?
Yep. Recap for sure.
Yeah. All right, then we'll see you soon.
Okay, it's been fun.
Yeah.
We'll talk again.
All right.
Soon.
So okay. All right. Okay. We'll see you. Okay. Yeah. So do leave us your thoughts and comments below. We love to hear them as always. And if you'd like to support our channel, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to us. Leave any comments you like. We're open to have a chat for anything, and we wish everybody a wonderful what's the opposite of blue? I don't know. We'll call it, I think yellow is a happy color, so we'll call it Yellow Monday, and hope it is for everybody else. It certainly is for me, and it was a pleasure to see Roxy again. So again, thanks for stopping by, and have a wonderful day.